Hello everyone, and welcome to this video, which is in our Great Engine Game series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler, and we are going to take a look at a wonderful game between Arasan and Topple, played in the TCEC Season 22 League 3. Just like in human chess, it's not just about the top players. You don't only look at games of Magnus Carlsen. Even games of low-rated players, are full of content, full of interest, full of creativity and genius. And it's the same for the engines. Neither Arasan nor Topple are at the top of the engine rankings, although both are still considerably stronger than me. But here they produced a really interesting game, full of interesting themes, and I really thought it would be lovely to share with you. So let's start off from the opening, and we'll see how we got to this point. So e4, d6, d4, and e5. This was the opening book. And in principle, after d takes c5, d takes c5, queen d8, king d8, then white has a nice advantage. The black king has been forced to move. There's not going to be any castling for black. Black's going to have to spend a couple of moves to get his king safe. But it's also the type of advantage that can disappear quite quickly. And one of the most common moves for white is to play bishop c4, hitting the pawn on f7 that's been weakened by king takes d8. But Arasan plays just very aggressively with f4. White's willing to get an isolated e-pawn in return for rapid development. And, this bishop on f4 attacking the pawn on c7 is quite awkward, because it also makes it hard for black to block the d-file with bishop d6, which is something he'd really like to do. So Topple reacts quite sharply with knight f6. We're already almost leaving known opening theory here. Knight d2, knight c5, and then after the next move, then I no longer find anything like this in my normal databases. Knight df3. So knight gf3 had been played before. But knight df3 is pretty logical, really. It puts the knight onto a great square, frees this bishop to come out here, and will also free kingside, queenside castling as well. So it's a very natural move here. Knight c6 played by Topple, bishop e3, king e8, and knight e2, and here Topple goes for something quite sharp. it reminds you very much of the Berlin defense. This, you've got this advanced pawn on e5 and weak squares, light squares around it, but the black king, has lost the right to the castle, so development's always going to be tricky. Connecting the rooks is always going to be tricky. And I think actually you could really spend some interesting time analysing this. But Topple plays something quite specific here. Plays the move knight d7, targeting this pawn on e5. And here Arasan takes the opportunity to liven up the position, and you often see this in the Berlin as well. If you can play this move e5 to e6 and open some lines and create some weaknesses to attack, then you do it. And e6 was played. F takes e6, knight ed4. And Black's got to work out a little bit how he's going to deal with the threats. What are we threatening? We're threatening knight takes c6, but we've also got this idea of knight b5 attacking the pawn on c7. And considering Black played king e8 a few moves ago, that might be awkward. Now this is one of the things, of course, if you put this on the strongest engines, if when I run matches between Stockfish and Koivisto in this position, then they are just finding the way to neutralize this sort of attack. So bishop c5 was what they were doing. Castles, takes, rook takes, king e7, bishop c4, knight f6, rook e1, rook d8. And White has a slight initiative here, but with a bit of accurate play from Black, giving up a pawn at the right moment. Knight takes g7, rook g8, then then Black simply survives. It's Black's always the one that's got to be really careful, got to find some good tactical moves, but of course for these monsters it's not a problem. After knight ed4, bishop c5, Black's probably holding quite nicely. But Topple played knight d e5, which is a little bit sharper. And this is going to lead us to really the thing that attracted me to this game. So castles, bishop d6, knight b5. And now again, Stockfish and Koivisto have a very specific defense in mind. They want to go knight f3, g takes f3, and bishop e5. So just sidestepping this attack. And then after f4, they're playing a6. And knight c3 takes, knight e7. And, well, Stockfish and Koivisto fought out, quite a few games in this line. But Black always managed to hold somehow. Wasn't comfortable. But you're so well entrenched on light squares, and that really compensates for the fact that your king can't castle, and also the fact that your dark squares are weak, and the engines managed to hold this quite okay. But Topple played knight g4, which is quite an interesting idea. I mean, looking, to chase this bishop, away maybe to g1, for example, and then you'd have bishop f4 check, and you're getting the bishop safe in that way. But here, Arasan came up with an absolutely gorgeous idea, and this was to play the move rook takes d6. So, obviously knight e3, we've got knight takes c7 check, which is going to be very powerful. So you have to accept this exchange sacrifice. Knight takes d6, but king d7, and then bishop c5. And, this is a pure exchange sacrifice. I mean, White had already sacrificed a pawn with e6 earlier on. So White's just got a bishop for the rook. White's got the two bishops. White's got a pretty powerful knight on d6, and Black's development is quite tricky. This bishop on c8 is blocked. This knight on g4 is not doing a great deal now, so it might well get attacked at some stage. There's no particular way for the moment to get Black's rooks active. So, there's quite a lot of activity going for White. But, I wasn't really sure that objectively this was going to be any sort of advantage for White at all. But quite surprised to see my engines giving something like plus 0.7, 0.8 for White. So how did Black try and get developed? Well, b6 first of all, that's a decent move, and then a6. And the idea is we've chased away the bishop, we've made it a bit more passive, and now with a6 we're covering b5. So there's no bishop to b5, there's no knight to b5. So now the Black king in principle can come to c7, and we can get him bishop d7. So, already to my eyes, I'm thinking, looking pretty much like, this is a nice try from White, but this is not really going to be very much. But amazingly, the initiative keeps on going. Now here, Stockfish and the other engines part company. And as always, Stockfish is the one racking up the wins. Knight f7, rook e8, bishop e2 was what Stockfish wanted. Actually, it's very simple and direct. And the idea is just to bring the rook into d1 with check. Fine. Okay, so b5. These were my games against Koivisto. Ran about 42 games I ran between Stockfish and Koivisto at various points in this game. Very revealing this. Rook d1 check, king c7, and now actually the point of what Stockfish wants becomes clear. This move knight d4 is very, very clever. The bishop's been placed on e2, we're attacking the knight on g4, and we're getting rid of this knight on c6. And actually after knight takes d4, rook d4, this knight is attacked, so it goes to e3, and then actually what we've done, we've also removed Black's control of e5, and all of a sudden White's just got control of all of these central dark squares, and actually even the Black king is in trouble because White's playing a4 here. After knight f5, a5 check, and this is really surprising actually, but king takes a5 allows bishop c7 checkmate, just out of nowhere, right? So a5 check, king a7, bishop c5 check, getting out of that fork. You don't want to give up your two bishops just yet. King b8 and rook d2. And again, if you're looking at this position, at first sight you think, oh, okay, Black's been a bit pushed back, but I'm sure he can get out. And then you start thinking, wait a minute, but how could he possibly get out? And he can't. You know, this bishop is stopping this rook from developing. I mean, we've also got this powerful idea g4 when this knight has got, you know, really very few squares. Move the bishop to b7 and we're invading on d7, probably after a preliminary d4. I mean, it's really horrible. And well, I mean, we've also got moves like bishop f3 coming in. I mean, actually, black is just in massive problems. And again, you know, you just see this exchange sacrifice so well judged. Just seeing that these rooks are not able to get active. This black knight is not finding any sort of stable square, and the black king's in danger as well. So yeah, I mean, Koivisto was giving up the exchange in my games, and this is the kind of amazing thing, and well, you know, the thing that I want to really try and learn from my engines, because here, you know, Stockfish was like already on I think +3, +4, +5, you know, and just reaching the stratosphere already assessing this ending as winning. And you know, what's the reason for it? It's these weak light squares. The fact that this knight has got no stable square and is going to get chased away, and we're going to get a light squared bishop against knight ending, where basically this one's too weak, and there's all sorts of entry squares for the white king. You know, I think if you just spend a little bit of time looking through this endgame and you know, understanding, you know, all the advantages that black seems to have, how they just get taken away from black really easily, leaving him with just rotten pieces. You know, I think that you know, that's really instructive, because I think, you know, really what we need to learn from engines is this forward-looking idea. You know, the idea not just assessing the position, but also looking forward and saying, and what can black's pieces actually do? Which squares can they hold on to? Do they have any permanent outposts? And here, you know, what you actually see in this game happening. So this knight gets chased back. Very simple play. Just swap off the light squared bishop, and then afterwards you're just going to organize your pieces to invade on light squares. And it is just so easy how Stockfish does this. This is a gorgeous move. Just rook d2, bishop g2, completely unassailable pieces, and yeah, just, you know, just neutralizing anything that black has got. This move's very nice. There are multiple ways to win. You know, I mean, that's really yeah. I mean, that there's really many ways. This was a very clear way. Rook a2. Takes, and what have you got in this position? I mean, this is like a Karpov ending, really. Reminds me very much, I mean, kind of not the same, but kind of the same, of a game between Karpov and Zsuzsa Polgar in a Queen's Gambit Accepted, where, you know, you got some sort of normal position like this, but with light squared weaknesses on the queen's side. Karpov had the light squared bishop, Zsuzsa Polgar had the knight, and it was just hopeless. And it's the same thing here. And of course, you know, what we pointed out before was that there's plenty of ways for the white king to get inside the position. And yeah, it doesn't matter at all. You know, you've got plenty of flexibility in your plans here. Stockfish playing around a bit and then deciding, all right, we're going to go for c4 and start breaking things open. And well, this was all too easy for Stockfish. Bishop b6. Bishop f7, we're coming round bishop e8 to attack the pawn, and you're just not going to be able to defend it. Knight g2, bishop e8. Really easy. But yeah, I mean, really worth you know, remembering this you know, this typical sort of idea, because, you know, the engines are assessing this as +4, +5. So you know, I mean, well worth remembering just how good it is, and also you know, remembering a couple of the techniques that this bishop g2 are. That Stockfish uses to keep control of the position. So that was what Stockfish was doing. So yeah, Arasan plays something also that other engines were playing in my engine games. Slightly less good, though also dangerous. You do see, though, that the Black Knights are somehow keeping control of the centre a lot better than in the line that Stockfish played, where it's, it played to exchange off this knight and then target this knight to get it away from the defence of the central squares. Here, Black's much better organised. And in this position, we still got some sort of bind, but Stockfish was sort of thinking that Black should be able to hold this okay. So bishop c5 played, just because b4 was a threat. bishop d7 developing, rook f1. And well, you still see that, although black's managed to get some development, got the king to relative safety here, got the bishop on d7, rooks are connected. Still very difficult for black to do so much. For example, you can't fight for the only open file because you've got any sort of idea like here and knight takes b5 check. So that's not possible. So black's still very passive, still very hard for black to actually get at white's position, despite being a whole exchange up. So h6 played, knight f7, rook f8, king d2. So by forcing the knight to f7, you've managed to at least get your rook to f8. But it's a very uncomfortable square, right? Because there's the bishop on c5 attacking it through sort of x-ray. So it can't remain there forever. I mean, the only thing you've managed to do there is to stop a white rook from invading on f7. So yeah, still very fraught game, but black still, you're still struggling to find good ways for black to get free, and that's real testament to the power of Arasan's minor pieces. So b3 was played, which I thought was a really interesting move. Wasn't something that really would have occurred to me, I think, particularly. I don't know. I mean, it's always hard to say that. I mean, depends how much time you've got and how how creative you're feeling. I think probably in this sort of position you understand when you're playing white that just with my minor pieces I'm not going to do anything, and then it's the question, how do I get some pawns involved? Can I get some pawns involved? And actually what Arasan is aiming for is to bring a pawn onto c5 and create an outpost on d6 and b6 and get its bishop and its knight involved on those squares. Very interesting idea. So yeah, Koivisto was getting a lot of success against Stockfish, which probably means it's a pretty good defense just by defending like this, actually, and actually just sacrificing the pawn just to create another open file. I mean, those are such. I was having a conversation with the amazing Mr. Beads in the TCEC chat, and he said that this was really one of the big things that NNs have brought to chess, and I think that's definitely true. This complete lack of fear about giving pawns away in order to activate a rook on an open file. It's almost really worth it, right? Give away a pawn, but a rook, one of your rooks gets an open file. That's a good trade. And here you see Koivisto defending in this way, and again, it's something I can understand, but in a practical game, you're always thinking, ooh, do I really need to give up that pawn, or am I going to miss it later? And that makes it difficult to do that. But I think it's probably something if I really want to improve, then that's a great thing to get into your head. And somehow you can see this position, that the fact that you've got an open rook, a rook on an open file, it's attacking a piece that ties down the white rook on e1. The white rook isn't free to invade on the f file. It just causes a lot more inconvenience for white. And in the subsequent play, Koivisto just kept on managing to cause this inconvenience and didn't allow Stockfish to find anything. And I can tell you the version of Stockfish I've got is brand new, the latest long time control 15 elo boost version. So if that one can't find anything, then probably this is just a super defense from Koivisto. Well, Topple didn't find that defense. Rook ac8, c4 played, and then I think here I think it's a big mistake from Topple here. Topple took on c4, and well, in principle, okay, you're giving white an isolated pawn, but you really are also giving the b file for white, and you're ensuring as well that there's nowhere with any cover where the black king can go. I mean, the b file is out of the question, and even if you go to a8, I mean, there's this bishop diagonal pointing along here, and a rook can come to b6 and then take on a6. I mean, really, I really think this is a bad idea. It's Stockfish was playing, was of course playing amazingly, but it was playing e5 again, similar idea to what Koivisto did before. And I think this is probably quite important, and very important as well is that Stockfish was very, very happy, to just to give up material, give up a rook for a knight, for example, and then try and hold the resulting position. And here, for example, taking on c4, but giving up material. There's a lot less danger on the king, but you've got some sort of target to aim for here. And this resulting ending is anything but pleasant or easy for black. But Stockfish, of course, managed to hold it. Something like that. But I always already feel you're getting towards the desperate stage, really. I think this defense of Koivisto, e5, and then e4, give up the pawn, get a free open line for your rook. You've got 2 rooks, so that's what you need. That was really the great defense, I think. But after takes, then suddenly it's very dangerous for Topple, and it's only Stockfish with some last gasp defences that manages to make anything of it, really. But again, I think in practical terms, for 99.99% of the population, the game's already gone. So here, knight a5 played, knight e5, and doesn't that remind you a little bit of the plan that Stockfish was playing before? It was getting this plan that it played before on the 19th move, its whole plan to get control of the e5 square, exchange off the knight on c6, push this knight away from g4, give itself complete hegemony over these central squares. Now somehow with some suboptimal play from Topple, knight a5, knight e5, white's got it, and you can see how powerful these dark squares are. And I really thought the next move was really great from Arasan, because knight c6 played to challenge the knight, and then this great move, bishop c6. Yeah, you don't give up that knight. That knight is your god. You give up the bishop pair, no worries. You get into the 7th rank, and you just entrench yourself with c5. Yeah, I've got a big chapter in the Silicon Road to Chess Improvement, my new book, all about entrenched pieces and how engines suddenly seem to be so good at finding ways to put pieces on outposts and then just hammer them in there so that you'll never ever get rid of them. And some great examples from AlphaZero games, but many examples from all sorts of different modern strong engines now. So really very impressive this. But if you have a look at this bishop on d6, covers f8, covers b8, no escape for the rooks. This knight is beautiful, and also threatening to come round c4 to b6. So there's mating threats as well. Really powerful. And as so often with engine games, careful there. Rook takes c5 was the threat here. It doesn't end in mate, but we establish such control over the position that it does actually. You just end up building up a huge material advantage. And again, when you're taking pawns, I think this is the thing you have to realise. Taking pawns, of course, you're giving away pawns, so you're freeing the opponent's rook, and you're doing that here. But you look at the control that these pieces are exerting. The black king can't even get across to the king side because these pieces are covering it. It can't advance anywhere. It's in a real cage, this black king, and that just means that the pawns are just going to be able to advance. And quite nice little thing there. Bishop e7 played. Probably not what I would have thought of. I would have been very reluctant to give up this beautiful thing. But this move bishop e7 to g5, that just makes it easier to advance these pawns. And king d4, g4, bishop e2, king e3. Just got some playing around here, the normal engine stuff. King coming to g3. These pawns are solid now, so this h pawn is going to run. And the c pawn is not dead yet, so even that one can advance. Rook f1 h5, rook g1, king h3, bishop f4. There's no rush at all. a2 pawn, fine, take it, whatever. But I've got plenty. c7. If king c7, we could go knight d3 check. Oh, isn't that nice? Followed by h7 to h8. We're blocking this diagonal. So rook a3 check, king h4, rook c3, g5, g6, and bishop e4, king g5. Topple wasn't long for this world. Just knight f7 and then h7 to h8 is coming in. So really beautiful game there from Arasan, and I do hope you've come this far and took the trouble to watch a game by not Leela or Stockfish, but also from one of the lower engines. Just remember Arasan still 3300 rated, extremely strong, and yeah, obviously in the right position, capable of finding some amazing concepts. And this exchange sacrifice with rook d6 and the resulting play, just the exchange, no pawn compensation, but all of the little factors that went into it, the passivity of black's pieces for now, the weakness of the king, the difficulty of the black rooks to get activated, and perhaps for me the most surprising thing was, even with not completely optimal play, this lasted right into into the late middle game, and it was just very permanent factors, dynamic factors, but also quite permanent ones that that really were very hard for black to counter. And I think also this defensive moment, just giving away a pawn with e4, I thought this is again really high quality defending. The things that that Leela and Stockfish, that we see them doing all the time, and Koivisto, really strong engine, new engine, and just improving so fast as well. Also shows that same quality. So very, very impressive all round. So there we are. I hope you enjoyed that. If you liked this video, please give me a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Just anything to just to get the attention of Google, so that this channel can be more easily found. Also take a look at the Silicon Road to Chess Improvement, which my new book, all about engines with lots of stuff like this. Learning from engines, how they play, and also learning how to train with engines. And even on the website, the New in Chess website for the book, there's a lot of supplementary material showing exactly step by step work instructions, how to set up your engines to generate engine matches, like I do for all my analysis, like I have done for actually ever since I started working with AlphaZero together with Natasha. That just opened my eyes to the perfect way of working. So there we are, and otherwise, thanks very much for watching this video. Why not take a look at another one whilst you're on the channel, and hopefully see you for the next video.